Let's talk about setting goals that can actually change our life.
This guy stopped me at a stoplight. He was like, "Hey, Goggins, why am I not getting better? I'm a big-time goal setter. I run half Ironmans. I run half marathons. I go for that new promotion at work. Why am I not getting better?"
So let's figure out how to do it right.
I asked him a question. "Do you have fear of not reaching those goals?" He said, "No." Well, that's your problem.
Here's an example. He said we'd have self-driving cars by next year, 2016, then 2017, then 2018, then 2019, then you get it. He said that by 2020, AI would be our overlords. He said that we would have a merging of a computer with a human brain. Yeah, by now. And he also said we'd be back to the moon by 2023. Not looking likely.
Lots of luck on this trip to the moon.
Of course, we're talking about Elon Musk, and there's probably no one in the public eye that has set more audacious goals and achieved them in our lifetime today. But he's also famous for setting goals and failing to reach them, owning them publicly and being called out on it.
I don't really think of these things as all that audacious.
So let's take a look at what we can learn from people like Elon and other famous goal setters and see what we can find, see if we can find something that works for us. Hi, I'm James Callahan, and this is the Do-Over Show, where we learn to succeed at least the second time around. So let's take a look at goal setting, especially if you think it's too late for you to start setting goals, big goals that can actually change your life.
You're setting goals you know you can reach. And when you do that, that fear, that insecurity, that doubt, that's where you grow. He's not getting that. You must always set goals that you think you cannot achieve. And in there you get better. Stay hard.
All right, let's admit this right up front. If you've set goals and failed horribly, or if you've never set them and you think it's too late for you to start, then goal setting itself might be a little bit overwhelming. It's so meticulous. It's like accountants and lawyers keeping track of everything in 6-minute increments for billable hours. And for a lot of us, it's just a gimmick that we try once in a while, and we wonder, well, is it really worth the time and effort to actually stop working and producing and living in order to sit around and daydream about goals? If you only did this little trick or buy this little journal or day planner, then everything would magically change for you. Or maybe you're too embarrassed because maybe you set a goal and you shared it with someone and it didn't happen, and you felt not only the sting of accountability, but the embarrassment. And maybe you realize that setting goals, if they're not for yourself, if they're just to please other people, are not really going to help us a lot. So wherever you are in the goal setting spectrum, whether you're just getting started or whether you've tried everything and you're looking for that last final magic bullet in order to get you to your goals, well, let's take a closer look at what goal setting actually involves, the basics, and what we can do to actually find something that works for us. Okay, back to Elon and all those predictions, date setting. It's kind of a word game when you realize it. It's that it will happen next year. That's like the bar owner who says free beer tomorrow. And what we have is an essential element of goal setting, and that is we have a concrete or specific date that we're going to work toward. Even if we do have to revise it to next year or the year after that, at least then we have some time element involved, and that's the first critical element of setting any goal. Put a date on it. So start not only with a date, but a deadline. By this date, this is going to happen. Without that, all we have is a dream. All we have is something vague, and we'll be able to sit around and catch up on our Netflix shows without really having to pursue a goal. And if you've ever spent any time in the goal setting space, you know that there are 3, 5, 7, 12-step programs about goal setting and how you can get into it. Like the simplest about using goals in work and life, like process, performance, and outcome goals. Process goals like reading a book a week or studying 2 hours a day. Performance goals like meeting a schedule or a deadline consistently or early. And outcome goals including closing a sale or getting the job that you're applying for. Now, personal organizers and day planners are everywhere on Amazon and LinkedIn, and there are courses attached to them, and they're the simplest, easiest way most of us find our way into the goal setting space. And if I thought that a simple page would change your life, I'd be selling you one right now. But if you can't tell yet, I really don't believe that just a day planner by itself will be able to change the course of your life and change the future. Anything more than you can see right in front of us. And that's what a day planner is. It just puts down what we can see in front of us. Changing the course of your life, though, means thinking of things beyond the day, beyond the moment, beyond what is obvious and in front of us. So after we get that time incentive down of a deadline that we're going to work toward, and we're looking for something bigger, how are we going to take that next step to make it big and bigger and not just doable? You see, redefining what's doable is at the heart of life-changing goals. It's what some people call stretch goals, and they can be so discouraging. Setting an impossible goal is the first bit of advice we receive, and that is don't do it. Don't set an impossible goal because it'll discourage you from goal setting altogether. Well, quite frankly, goal setting by itself is a method. It's not the outcome. I want the outcome, not just a new gimmick or method to get there. So I need something that will help me think big and bigger about what's possible. So looking for this something beyond just what's in front of me, there are two basic approaches. One still focuses on the day planner approach, but it's more a little OCD approach to things where everything is broken down, everything is incrementalized, and it happens at the beginning of each day or even late the night before where you plan your next day. But it's a meticulous, overwhelming listing of every possible thing, and then a prioritizing and a rearranging of those things into bigger ideas and smaller things or smaller tasks. And you'll find people with the advice of do the small things first, and other people will tell you do the important things first. What the heck are we supposed to start with? We don't even know where to start. Now, some of us, we make lists for everything. We don't crowd our mind palace with useless things like, what am I supposed to be getting at the grocery store? What am I supposed to be doing next Tuesday night? And that is, we write things down so that we don't have to obsess about them. And that list keeping for some of us is an ordinary, everyday thing where we just jot things down so we won't lose sight of them. And closely associated with this sort of OCD day planner approach is the idea of, picking small things like make your bed every morning type of advice, or James Clear's Atomic Habits, the 1% incrementalism of changing everything day by day. And I have applied these to different parts of my life, things that, they weren't going to occupy every moment of my life or my entire day, but they needed to be an element I added to my life. For example, I added the idea of saving a certain amount of money every single day as an incremental approach to building personal wealth and a money story that works for me. And I've done a video on that, and you can see how that turned out here. By the way, it works. Now, the second approach, the one I favor, is to set life goals. That is, big, audacious things that are well beyond the day, well beyond our immediate control, and that take a lot of moving parts in order to get there. But I don't obsess about the moving parts. I set that larger goal and I attach a date to it. So you set a big, outrageous goal, and then you do everything you can to get there. You don't know how you're going to get to that big, outrageous goal. So planning out step 1, step 2, step 3 might be the wrong steps in the wrong order. Instead, we try to get to the goal as fast as we can by doing as many things as we can. This life goal approach tends to be more all-consuming, tends to take up more of our time, tends to risk more of our personality and ourselves in the process of reaching a life goal, something bigger than just having your day organized. And that's what people that we would associate with great and unique accomplishments in our life, that's the kind of approach they have to life. Yes, they have people to manage the day-to-day things, but for most of them, they are so occupied with that larger goal that smaller things like what they're going to eat today or even what they're going to wear. You know that there are people that wear exactly the same thing every day so they don't have to decide what they're going to wear every day? Imagine the emotional and mental energy it takes, and the money and the shopping energy it takes to eliminate those choices, whether it's Steve Jobs or anyone like him that said, I'm just going to wear the same damn thing every day so I don't have to worry about that. Do you know why? So that they could pursue a life goal, which was so much bigger than whether or not to wear a blue or a green or a gray shirt. But the problem with the life goal approach is that when you share it with people, when you let people know or they start to see you're living a little different, it really puts your reputation on the line. And it really takes getting beyond what people think, whether you give a flying F about what other people think about you. And if you find you're setting goals in order to make other people happy, that's not goal setting, that's people pleasing. And obsessing about that big, larger than life goal about your life and then putting a time frame on it that you're going to do it by this date, well, that's going to stretch you. And here's the thing. It means we stop being patient. We stop accepting the incremental approach that little things will accumulate into one greater, that the sum total of the parts will exceed the whole. Instead, we go for the larger than life idea, the whole, and we let whatever parts are going to be necessary fill in that. This means for our personal and professional lives. I'm also not a fan of the triple P goals, the idea about being positive, personal, and possible. The possible is like self-selecting mediocrity. When we think of and we work towards things that we only see right now that are possible, we have no idea about what is greater than that. Or SMART goals, SMART goals, where we have specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound. But beyond that, beyond those simple things where there are actual measurements attached to them, bigger and greater are relative terms, and measurable is not part of the of bigger. Now, the attainable part of SMART, the A, is the one I really dislike, and it's the idea of it's self-defeating when it comes to doing something great. Instead of doing something ordinary, hey, we can do ordinary things all day, every day, and our lives will not change. And the T of SMART goals, time-bound, this is also the downside of not just setting a deadline, but also giving us an excuse to be procrastinators. And that is to say, well, I have 10 years to achieve this, so I don't have to do it today. Time-bound can be an excuse for not working towards your goals today. Okay, back to Elon Musk. He gave us this example, and he said, look, if you have a 10-year goal, then try to achieve it in 6 months. Now, you're probably not going to make it in 6 months to your 10-year goal, but you're probably going to be a lot farther along than someone who has a 10-year goal and just sticks with their 10-year plan. Now, the life goal rather than the day planner approach to goal setting really involves and it needs the involvement of failure, and it needs the involvement of course correction. And it doesn't hyper-manage or micromanage all those little steps to think that if I just do 1, 2, and 3, I'm going to get to 4. If you're not innovating, then you're not failing. If you're not failing, you're not innovating. That's the premise of the life goal approach, that instead of micromanaging all the details, we work towards the larger goal without knowing exactly how we're going to get there. Oh, and these bigger breakthrough goals, they will always involve other people. They will involve networks of people and things happening in your life that are not part of your life today. They're always going to involve many moving parts, things that cannot be anticipated. So trying to anticipate them really is choosing not to achieve the larger than life goals. And part of this is because for us to succeed, other people don't have to fail. We can be around people, everyone's succeeding, and we can still succeed. Why? Because we don't live in a zero-sum world. And when we treat our success as coming at the expense or the cost of necessarily someone else, we're living in a zero-sum world with very little generosity and very little upside. And the sooner we accept this, the sooner we'll find ourselves winning and succeeding more often. And thanks for being part of the Do-Over Show. Please, could you tap the like button and make that your life goal, at least today? And while you're down there, how about you subscribe and ring the notifications bell so you don't miss the next episode? I'm so glad you found me, and I found you. Thanks.